Is it recording?
It is.
All right, here we are on The Blind Man in Black, and I'm Brian Snyder, your host, and I'm here with a very special guest, a visual artist, graphic designer, mother, and dear friend. And I'm sure there's many other things that I'm not aware of, but we'll learn about as we discuss it. But here she is, Anais Rumfelt. Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a
Yeah.
long time since we've spoken in person.
Yeah, I want to say the last time I saw you, literally, was in 2006. Does that seem about right?
Yeah, maybe. Did you come here? You came here.
Yeah, I mean, I visited you several times, and I was going to bring that up in discussion, but we can kind of go into that later. But yeah, I think I've visited probably about 3 or 4 times over the years, or maybe more than that. But
Yeah.
that's about right. And it was lovely visits. But before we get into all that stuff, and by the way, I didn't tell you could swear, so there you feel like saying shit,
Yay,
fuck.
that's so good. That makes me so much less nervous.
So if you want to get out a bunch of swear words right now, go ahead.
Oh, they'll come, I'm sure, quite naturally.
Natural cursing. Okay. So you know, I'm just it's been so long, and I'm so glad you're here. And how are you holding up through the pandemic?
Well, I'm here in my house where I've been for most of it, with my 18-year-old in the other room. I've been working the whole time. I work full time for a nonprofit as a marketing director.
Mm-hmm.
So everything had to kind of very quickly move online. So that was, I feel like I've been in adrenaline pumped reaction mode for nearly a year now. And now my office is in my house as well as all the other stuff that is here. But I'm here, I'm healthy, my kid is healthy. I live in a beautiful place. I spent a lot of time outside this year, and that's saved me. Um, I'm very grateful for where I'm at and the people around me. So I guess I'm holding up just fine.
Lovely. Tell me about the adrenaline thing. What's that about? What were you talking? What does that mean?
Well, I work for a play-based nonprofit for
Mm-hmm.
kids and families in Taos, and we have a on-site facility that hosts families throughout the year. And so our whole job is to create a space for people to come to. And we were one of the first businesses in town to shut down
Mm-hmm.
our physical space and quickly scramble to get all of our programming online, as well as doing outreach in the community, like trying to reach kids that were lost in the system and didn't have access. Like, I mean, we have a free lunch program in Taos, and we went through that program to get kids supplies for creativity and play that they weren't able to access because we were closed and because everything was closed. So it was a lot of scrambling and a lot of learning new things. I learned a lot of new programs. As the marketing director, I ended up making a new website, creating all online platforms, getting real familiar with Facebook Live and YouTube and all of that. So it's been a really sharp learning curve and a lot going on, and kind of hectic. But
How has everybody been holding up as far as the kids? Are they enjoying the new process, or has it been, how has that been?
In the beginning, for the first like 6 months, I'd say that's all they had. We had classes 5 days a week on Facebook. And so we had people responded really well to that because, they had no choice and they loved doing these classes. They were mostly creativity classes like theater, dance. Um, there was a yoga and meditation for kids. There's a class that explores the feelings around all of this, music. So that was really great. We've noticed definitely lately that the online enthusiasm has dropped off quite a bit.
Hmm.
Kids are burnt out on all of it. You know, they're on there all day long doing school. So everybody's burnt out on Zoom and Facebook and whatever online platform their school has. It's just, it's a lot.
How is your son holding up?
Well, he hates it.
Yeah, the remote learning.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Um, and you know, he's 18 and he wants to be with his friends. He doesn't want to be stuck in a house with his mother. It's like hell. Can you imagine? You can't see
Yeah.
my giant smile right now.
Thank you for the audio description. That helps. But yeah, I can imagine. I have a 5-year-old, so um, yeah, it's not going well with the remote learning. So
No, no, it's
yeah,
not going well for us either.
yeah,
Not at all.
yeah. So we
Um,
we can both relate to the dumpster fire that is remote learning.
yes.
I gotta put these on. Oh, I almost my eyes get pretty tired from the light, so it's easier for me to concentrate. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, good. So I wanna kind of start out with, you and I met because I went to school at Cal Arts, and your then boyfriend was going there as well, and he later became your husband. And I think that was I think I feel like I met you in 1998, but it may have been 1997. I'm not sure, but I definitely met you in 1998. And at that time, you were dating a good friend, and anyway, this to fast forward ahead, I used to visit you in Taos, where you both lived at the time, and I just wanted to say that I was so grateful for your warmth, kindness, and hospitality when I would visit, and I always felt at home. I felt comfortable. I felt loved, and I really appreciated that. And it was a really wonderful a time when I visited you, and then I learned that you are an artist, and I mean before that, and yeah, I mean your work is really really beautiful, and we'll get into that in detail, but I was just mesmerized by it. I thought it was just this incredible artwork. You're amazingly talented, um, and you have a great sense of humor. And so that's why I wanted to talk with you and kind of discuss your life. And because I think, I learned a little bit, but, when I visit, I was very, staying close to your ex. And so I didn't get a chance to really get into deep discussions with you. And I hope we can do that here. So let's talk about your formative years. Like, where did you grow up, and how are you formed?
I was formed in Taos, New Mexico, and in a this is an unusual community to say the least. I moved here when I was 5 with my mom and my sister because my father died, and my mom's brothers lived here. So she brought her 2 little girls to Taos, New Mexico, which was quite a bit different than Atlanta, Georgia, where we came from. High mountain desert, very sparsely um, populated. The culture that there are very different cultures here. It's a strong Hispanic culture, old Spanish Hispanic culture, and a Native American culture. And there weren't a tremendous amount of white people here at that time. Um, we, my mom bought a piece of land. We lived in a teepee until we built a house.
And this was in the late 70s, right?
This was in the early 80s.
Okay.
And then, you know, we slowly built a house, and then we started going to school here. She got married to my stepfather, like when I was 8, I believe, and he had 2 sons. So we were then, I then had 2 brothers, and then they had another child together, which is my youngest brother. I'm the eldest of all of them.
Mhm.
Um, so
Did you
yeah,
feel that responsibility, the elder?
yeah, very much so.
Right.
Um, especially having had a parent die at an early age, it was, um, there was a lot of responsibility on me with my sister, and that kind of just continued. I mean, I don't feel that way now with her at all, but it was a process.
Yeah, you had to probably grow up fast, right?
Yes.
Right. Um, so what was it like growing up in Taos? I mean, what was that experience like?
Um, well, I only know that one, so I guess I can compare it to what other people's experiences have been. Um, you know, it was very unusual being a white person in this town was a very different experience than most people have being white in the world.
Mhm.
Um, they didn't like us very much,
Mhm.
so there was a lot of um, ducking and running. I got my ass kicked constantly. Um, and you know, you get a little hard growing up like that, as you would imagine. You
Mhm.
get tough. People here are tough. It's it's the Wild West.
Right, but it's gorgeous. I mean, it's a beautiful place. I mean, I thought about moving there at one point. I was like, that's a beautiful place to live.
It's absolutely beautiful. I'm very, very attached to that part of this place. It's
S-
very open, it has a huge sky, you know, huge mountains, beautiful river. It's really an exquisite place to live.
Um, so when did you find art? Well, how did that develop?
I found art as a kid because my mom was an artist. I have uncles, family full of art. Um, but I didn't really take it seriously until I'd say I was probably 19 or so. Um, when I got involved with a group of people who were doing figure drawing group, meeting once a week, you know, hanging out, having dinner and laughing and creating and um, talking about each other's work. And that was an awesome time. That was like the moment when I realized I wanted to do that. And then, you know, I got involved with a person who was also creative, but was an actor, and kind of, I would say, put my own creativity on the back burner for a long time because his was front and center.
Mhm.
Um, and that's not me blaming him for that. I allowed that to happen.
Right.
Um, and then I had a kid, and, you know, that became the main focus for many
Mhm.
years. And then most recently, you know, I was still making art, but not like, uh, not as focused as I could have been. And then um, a few years ago, for my 40th birthday, I made a pact with myself and decided that I would kick my own ass, and started a challenge for myself where I did a drawing a day for 30 days
Mhm.
and posted it on social media so that I was accountable for it.
Mhm.
And it was hard. I was single parenting. Jackson was here. I would come home from work and make dinner and then paint, draw for 3 hours and then post it. And, it was a challenge for sure. But by the end of that process, had trained myself to practice, to do it no matter what. And that was really great. Really kicked my butt into gear.
Now, how long that was? So is that was like
4 years, 4.5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And since then, I've been pretty prolific and had a lot of shows and done a lot of work.
So what did you start out drawing or illustrating? What was the first thing that you remember like being inspired to do?
You mean like when I was a kid?
Yeah.
Oh, I liked like magical things. I like to draw like fairies and um, butterflies and dragons. It was fantasy was what I was really drawn to in the beginning. And
And
then
then,
figures have always been my thing. I've always
right.
wanted to draw the human form. So it started off with like little critters and then became naked people.
Now, what would you feel the catalyst for your work? Like what was was it a need for to simply create, or was it an escape, or what was it in the beginning?
Um, in the beginning, it would like as a kid, I don't know, I just really liked it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, and it was kind of an escape, but it just felt good to be able to draw something. Um, it felt powerful.
Now, did it come to you fairly easy, or did you have to continually work at it, or
Well,
uh,
everyone has to continually work at anything, even if they're naturally inclined towards it.
right?
Um, it I've been doing it so long that I don't really know. Like I can look back on my old work and I hate it. Absolutely hate
Mm-hmm.
it. Every bit of it. Don't want to see that ever again. But when I was doing that at the time, it didn't feel hard or I didn't hate it then.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm continually progressing and want to. I don't ever want to stop doing that. Um, but I can't say it was ever like, I mean, there's definitely been moments where I was like, oh my God, am I going to be able to do that? But one thing that that whole process and, life taught me is that, yeah, you can anything you want. If you put your mind to it, you give it enough time and energy and focus, you actually can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So now I just, I look at something difficult. Like the other day, I painted a pomegranate um, for a friend of mine. And it's a really hard thing to paint. It's very detailed and the lighting is everything and it's teeny tiny and all of that. But at no point was I like, I'm not going to finish this. I knew I would. It would just took a long time.
It's funny. The comedian Jim Gaffigan talks about painting like fruit, and he says the reason you can paint them is because nobody will take them. So, like, no, if you put out a plate of donuts, they'd be gone too fast for
Right.
anybody to paint them. Um, but anyway, so the pomegranate, you said that was very difficult.
Yeah, super challenging.
In what sense? I'm just curious to hear that.
Well, it's got all these tiny little seeds in it
Hmm.
and they're juicy and they have a certain kind of transparency. Light shines through them.
Ah, okay.
Um,
So you
so
have to,
yeah, to capture that is with a bunch of teeny tiny things is hard.
yeah. Now I see. Okay.
It's all
So
light and reflection and
Right.
And weird shapes too. They're not like a circle or a square or anything. They are very odd little shaped things.
Hmm. That makes sense. I get it. So, what drew you to drawing the human form? I think I
Oh.
just, yeah, that was an odd way to say that. Okay, but yeah.
I love naked people. No, I mean,
Well, I mean, to a certain degree, you have to, right?
yeah, but that's not all. I mean, I think beautiful. I think humans are beautiful. All the
Well,
different
I
kinds
mean,
of.
I can see that because when I look at you, when I used to, I can't see it anymore. But I was really mesmerized by your work because I felt like you were really capturing somebody in such a vulnerable, beautiful, natural state, and it wasn't necessarily erotic, but it was like it just felt like this is the way it should be. It wasn't. There was no pretense or anything. It was just somebody there and their beauty and their and a natural organic state that was really mesmerizing. I mean, it was, um, and I always wondered, did you look at somebody and say, I want to paint you, or how did that process developed?
Um, well, I have to start by saying that I truly believe that vulnerability is one of the most beautiful things there is. It's compelling. Um, I'm really into authentic. I'm into understanding people deeply. Um, and you can't do that without vulnerability. Uh, and I find it fascinating and wonderful and scary and awesome. So that's a huge compliment. Thank you for recognizing that that's something that I was able to convey because that's really important to me. Um, as far as like seeing people and asking them, yes, all the time. I see people and I say, "Hey, you're beautiful. Can I paint you?"
Yeah.
Um,
And how does it, I mean, how does it go? What is the percentage of yay versus nay?
mostly yay. If you know, I get an impression pretty quickly. If somebody's not into it, I don't really push it because that's not.
Right.
I don't want to make people uncomfortable. They have to be naked in front of me. Um, that's uncomfortable enough.
Right.
But yeah, most people really are flattered and they want to do it. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, and they like what I do.
Can you kind of describe your process of how, like, when you bring somebody into your studio, what you do?
Um, I I get them in here. I give them some tea or tequila, whatever they need
Right.
to make them feel okay. And you know, I create a background that's kind of neutral, and I ask them to. I usually don't. Sometimes I make people do things specifically if I have a particular painting in mind, but a lot of times I like to do like, I do it. I photograph them so that they don't have to sit there for hours while I paint them. That would not work.
Hmm.
Paintings take me forever. But you know, usually I'll do a photo shoot, and you know, for as long as they want to. I've had people come and I asked them to sing. Like this one woman I wanted to paint, I'd seen her singing and it was so beautiful that when she came, I just asked her to start singing and she was so comfortable doing it. I have all these amazing pictures of her singing and I wanted to capture that. It was just gorgeous. You know, everybody's different. Every individual is different. And I'm not really interested in some sort of blanket process. Like I try to tune in to what they're comfortable with and what makes them shine and what makes them happy or sad or whatever. Um, it makes for better paintings if there's an emotionality there and everyone has something to offer as a model.
And is there a specific body type or something that you gravitate towards, or are you just looking for a diversity, or how does that process work?
Um,
Or is it what's something that you're seeing in their eyes?
well, there's that. And I have to say, I know most of my models. You know, most of them are people that I'm friends with or I become very good friends with, because it's kind of an intimate act. And so I guess there there isn't a particular body part I'm drawn to. I don't really like, I like meat on a thing. I like curves. I like muscles. I like something you can hold on to. It's harder. Like I'm not a Aegon Shayla who only drew very like gaunt, skinny creatures.
Hmm.
Um, I like mine a little more juicy.
um, Now, was there a moment like early on when you're like, I have to start? What was the first time you painted somebody nude like? Now, and also my second question is, I know you said you take photographs, but has there been times where you actually painted somebody who was there face to face?
I've drawn a million people in person. At I've got my 10,000 hours in life drawing.
Hmm.
So yes, I've drawn people and, you know, sketch painted them. But these paintings, like the ones that are here in the picture that you can't see,
Hmm.
are, you know, weeks, if not months of layering of paint. So there would, I mean, I wouldn't want anybody in my house for that long.
Right. But the first time you painted somebody in the nude, what was that experience like? You mentioned life drawing, so I'm assuming it was first a class.
Mm, well, I used to like paint like little naked fairies when I was little.
Hmm.
And I have to say, like, nudity was never an issue in my household. Like, my mom was pretty nudist.
Right.
I've been comfortable with that most of my life. But yeah, I mean, the first time I ever drew a model, I don't even know if I can remember when that was.
Hmm.
Sorry.
So, so can you kind of describe how your work started out, and as far as with regards to nudes and where it's evolved to?
See, I had a show when I was my first solo show was when I was probably 19 years old, and it was really it was kind of like parts of people. It was like it was just chopped up bits. Like there was one with like a hip and a butt, and then there was one with like a belly, and then there was one with boobs, and so they were bigger paintings but with only parts of people in them. And I'd say like compositionally my work has evolved a lot, because I did that for years where I'd kind of cut up the body. And more recently, I'd say in the last like 10 years, I really try to fit the figure in the frame of the canvas in a way that makes for an interesting composition. Like I'm using the whole figure as a compositional element um, to break up the space. So I guess that's one way it has evolved.
Okay, interesting. So, no, I asked Sarah Louise Wilson, whom we both know. She was talking about the fact that she had to do her art in order to survive. Like she would not it was like a survival mechanism. Do you feel that like that? Like it's
I, you know, I would say yes, but that's just not true because I've been through periods of my life where I didn't do it and I'm still here. So, um, certain things take priority sometimes and it's not as important, like for instance, having a kid. Like I really didn't make much art for the first few years of his life at all. And I survived. So like at this point, if I was somehow unable to do it, I know myself well enough to know that like I would figure out something else to do. I'd be okay.
but essentially Jackson was your work of art that you were
He's
molding
very
and sculpting.
pretty. He's a beautiful, beautiful piece of art. He's right in there. Um, yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Um, so I don't know a lot about like the life you lived, but and before I met you. So what was going on? Like, were you was it a party life? Was it just were you just so involved in creating art, or what was going on?
No, Brian, I was an actor.
Were you?
Yeah,
Y-
yeah,
For
for a
some
little
reason,
bit.
I don't remember hearing about that at all.
Yeah, well, I was definitely retired by the time I met you.
So how did you like that? How did you find acting?
Well, I liked it very much when I was younger. I grew up when I was a teenager. I like lived at the local theater. It was like my haven.
Hmm.
Um, I loved theater, everything about it. Like that place was like my church,
Right.
and um, I loved my little theater community here. And um, you know, I was pretty serious about it at one point, but not nearly as serious as some other people we know. So uh, there was just when I got together with Aaron, it was just I kind of was like, "Oh, you can do
I'm
that."
sorry, I missed that. When you got together with Aaron, what?
It kind of went away
Right.
um, because he was so he needed it so much, and it
Yeah.
needed to be his thing.
Right.
And I'm not. Again, that's not his fault. I allowed
I,
that to happen.
I hear you. I hear you. By the way, for those listening and watching, when she refers to Aaron, that his name is Aaron Schreiber, and he's an actor. You probably saw him on Boardwalk Empire if you watched that, and other films as well. And he and I went to Cal Arts together, and that's who I was referring to originally. And so yeah, so I mean, was there a point that you'd considered maybe this is my path, I should go into acting? And
Yeah, when I was in my late teens, I did.
right.
Just made my screen way bright. Sorry.
So
um,
go ahead.
no, I think I answered the question.
Right. So it was just was it you saw when Aaron was doing it, you're like, I need, was it just like, I don't know, that seems like not a place I want to go and emotionally, or what was that?
Oh, it was more like the culture and definitely the industry was never my thing.
Yeah.
Um, I I mean, I was there through the Cal Arts years. It was pretty really competitive. There was a lot of insecurity. I felt like um, women were encouraged to see themselves as not good enough,
Hmm.
men as well. But I couldn't do that.
Hmm.
Um, it can be pretty ugly in the way that it teaches us to look at ourselves as a product. That part of it really turned me off. I loved the art of it and the intimacy of working with other actors and all of that, but the business end of it and the reality of what it does to people's self-esteem, it kind of made me sick. So I couldn't, that wasn't going to be my thing.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, yeah, I hear you. The exploitative nature of it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Boy, yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I'm so far removed from that world, and I haven't been close to it in a long time. So, yeah, it's hard for me to even think about that anymore. But so how do you feel like you were very young when your father passed away? Um, how did that affect you, and how did it inform how you create?
Uh, I, I don't know. I mean, it's my whole life. Like, I don't know what it would have been like if that hadn't happened. There's no way to really assess that. Kind of created who I am in some way, his not being part of my life and his death. It's just it's in me. And I don't know what I would be like if that didn't happen. So he was an artist. He was a sculptor. My parents met in art school. So, obviously the creativity runs in the family. But yeah, I can't really say how it affected me because I really have nothing to judge that by. Um, I've got some issues because my parent died when I was young. I'm aware of those.
Hmm. Um, as far as when you look at his artwork, do you see something of you in it?
There's not much of it, truthfully. He was a large scale sculptor, and most of what he made, he was in grad school when he died. And
Hmm.
most of what he made stayed there. So I don't have much. He did a lot of large abstract sculptures.
Hmm. Do you have any memories of him?
Oh yeah, very strong memories. I think for some people, when a trauma happens when they're really young, they kind of like ultra remember.
Hmm.
Some people don't remember anything, and that's how they cope. But like I'm on the other spectrum. I remember everything, which is not necessarily a good thing.
Do you feel like you have a photographic memory to some degree?
Um, no, I don't have a photographic memory. I see my memories are visual,
Hmm.
and but mostly they're very situational. Like it's not like a. I know I don't have a photographic memory because then I would have like been able to do a lot of other things. But yeah, I have a very I have a very visual memory, and I remember circumstances much better than most people would before they're 5. And I remember detail. Like my mom and my sister and I talk about things that happened in the past all the time, and I'm always like, nope, that's not what happened at all.
Right.
I'm like the memory keeper, which I have to say, I really kind of sometimes have envy for people who forget things easily because I don't only remember the good things.
Are you still there?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
finished my sentence.
Oh, well. So would you be willing to share some of those memories?
Hmm, let me think. That's kind of hard.
It's
I don't
okay.
know. I've actually done some therapy specifically designed to soften those memories,
Mm-hmm.
because when you are that when they're that crystallized and hardened, sometimes it causes a sort of a PTSD reaction later in life
Mm-hmm.
when a similar circumstance happens. It makes you relive it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've actually done a type of therapy called EMDR that it doesn't remove the memory at all, but it removes you to some extent, like makes you more of a bystander than a person that's involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like for instance, I have a very clear memory of the night my father died and watching the whole thing happen. So the work I've done around that is just to like kind of take me out of it and make it more further away and a little more fuzzy so that it's not as repetitively painful.
My wife has CPTSD, and she about 4 years ago she watched her father pass away, and he did not have a peaceful death, and it comes back to her during while she's sleeping, and she sees his death over and over again, and I think she had mentioned that same treatment. I think that was something that she was interested in, because I mean, she's had a lot of trauma in her life, but yeah, it's did you find that treatment useful?
Super useful. It was great. I mean, I was really willing to go there. I made a very good patient because I knew exactly what I wanted to work on and I was like determined to do it. So, but yeah, it was very, very helpful.
Now, what does that acronym stand for?
EMDR.
Yeah.
Oh, oh, want me to look it up? I'm
Yeah,
having,
if you could. I mean, if somebody might be interested who's listening or watching.
sorry.
So, how do you, while you're looking that up, can you think about how trauma has informed your art
Uh, hmm.
or influenced?
Well,
I think I've
anger is
used
very
informed too many
helpful.
times. I feel like I've said that too many times, so I want to take that out right now. So go ahead.
Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Okay.
It's a psychotherapy that enables people to heal from the symptoms and emotional distress that are the result of disturbing life experiences. There we go.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It uses lights and um, your eyes move back and forth
Is
while you're talking.
somebody like, are you supposed to relive the trauma to some degree with
Yeah,
the
I mean, I
therapist?
don't know if everybody does it the same way, but the way that I did it was you tell the story as you're doing this therapy with lights and your eyeballs,
Hmm.
and you go through the whole thing in as much detail as possible, and then you retell it and change the story in a sense.
Okay.
It's
Now,
interesting.
did you feel release from the pain, or how? What is that the idea, or it
Well,
was more objective?
in my case, I was having a very acute situation where something similar happened to someone else that I knew.
Hmm.
And so I was having kind of like a physical and an emotional reaction to that, almost a little PTSD. I wouldn't say that I actually had PTSD because I don't know that, but
Hmm.
I was having a lot of anxiety and reliving the situation in my head. So it was helpful in that to to change that circumstance. I was able to come out of that with like less of a reactive response and being able to be just there and not having my own panic attack.
Hmm. Have the panic attacks subsided?
I don't have repeated panic attacks at all. I had a very strong reaction in that circumstance. So
Right.
yeah, no, I have not had. that since.
I had one the Friday before last, so yeah, it was. I thought I was dying, but luckily I wasn't.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is some, these are the shitty times and stressful, and so it's expected. But yeah. Anyway, so I mean, I asked you the question about how trauma informs your art. I think we're all traumatized to some degree just by being born into this, right?
Hmm.
So like is there something that have you ever had to have you I mean I'm sure that there has been subjects that you painted that have experienced enormous amount of trauma. Did that come through? Because I imagine it would.
Well, there have been certain phases where that was a big part of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I do definitely make art in response to my circumstances. Like everything I've done in the last year has been pandemic art,
Mm.
it's uh, a questioning or an exploration of what it's like for us right now, in visual terms,
Mm-hmm.
of course. But there was a point like 4.5 years ago where I was making some real like angry lady art.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of like fuck you motherfucker kind of shit. Um
Right. You mean
and
like during the Me Too?
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean when Trump got elected, basically,
Right.
like, I started with a graphic about the pussy grabbing and then made a bunch of paintings with like serious anger issues.
Understandable. And
Yeah.
how was it received?
No, people loved it. I think it spoke to a lot of people. I mean, some
Now,
people are offended, but like you can't worry about offending people if you're an artist. That kind of doesn't go, especially if you're a artist who paints naked people all the time. It's kind of destined to offend people here and there.
can you recall a time that somebody was offended that and then you were just shocked because of the reason of it or for it?
Yeah, that um I did a show of 108 crows at a museum here called the Harwood Museum. That was probably 4 years ago, 4.5, something like that. Anyway, I painted 108 crows on ink on paper and hung them in this part of the museum all together. And it was beautiful. Um, it was challenging, really challenging show to do. And it was the
Mm.
only show I've ever done that was in a museum by myself. So um, that was cool. But I was there one day and I was looking at someone else's art in the next room. And I heard these people talking about the crows. And this lady went off. She's like, that's a raven. She doesn't even know what the hell she's talking about. And these things were not like, they're not anatomical, like high detailed, like they're not Audubon illustrations. They're like
Right.
gesture ink drawings of corvids. But she was so pissed that one of them looked like a raven. It's a silhouette
Mm.
for all intents and purposes. But yeah, anyway, so that was the most surprising offense I've ever experienced.
Yeah, I mean, I believe that there's just a slight difference in the tail. Like I'm
Yeah.
not sure which one is which. I think the crow has a
The
flare
tail,
tail,
size of
and
them,
that what's that?
the size, usually ravens are much bigger than crows, and then
Right.
crows have like a flatter tail and ravens have a pointy tail or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah.
Anyway, I wasn't really concerned with that at the time at all. Like, it was not even anywhere near my radar. So it was very surprising to hear that. I was like, huh.
Yeah, I wonder what was really going on. You think about when somebody, I mean, it's obviously it has nothing to do with the fucking uh, crows, right? It's whatever she was dealing with in her own life, and that was the outlet to externalize her anger. So I
Yeah, well,
wonder what the real issue was. You know what I mean?
I don't know if I want to get into that, but that is true of most things. Most things you can get offended by. You know, people's stuff is people's stuff. It very rarely has anything to do with you.
Right, right.
That was one of the
So,
most important things I ever learned. And I learned it when I was in my 20s in therapy. When I first did therapy for the first time, this therapist that was amazing. He changed my life forever, but he just taught me that one thing, like your reaction to a situation says nothing about the situation, and no one else's does either. It was life changing.
so, um, I'm trying to think here. So yeah, what I want to just kind of go back to your art again, because it's you know, I mean, it's so beautiful and mesmerizing, and I hope just before, where can people find your art? We'll mention it again at the end, but like I would like to talk about it now. Where can people look at it
Um,
online?
I have a website,
Okay.
AnaisRumfelt.com. I have a Facebook page, but the website is a really good place to see it. The new work that I've done this year is not on that yet,
Okay.
but and I just hung one of the pieces, and some of the pieces behind me are new, but they will be on there eventually. I don't know. I could show you one.
Yeah,
I just
yeah. I
got this.
mean, if you could describe it for those listening on the podcast, that'd be great.
So this piece is actually big in reality. This is a print of it, a small print. But it was my first pandemic piece, and it's a woman sitting with her back to us with her legs crossed and her feet kind of sticking out next to her butt. And then at the base of it are these tiny little connective roots, like mycelium, going out from her to the world. And then she's got her arms wrapped around her own shoulders, um, like in an embrace of herself. And there's a very stormy, dark background, looks cloud like storm clouds, and she kind of has a halo.
And how did that develop? How did that?
That piece was very much like first lockdown. It's called Isolation Connection, I think. I don't know. I have a hard time with titles. They take me a
You know,
while.
that's exactly the two words that came to mind when you described it. I thought, okay, there's isolation and then connection.
Yeah.
Those were the two things that I immediately got just from you describing it.
Well, that's what it's about.
Right.
And it was just
And I'm
about
not
that.
just saying that because I said it after you said the title. I mean, I mean it.
I believe you. You're smart too, Brian.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I'm smart anymore. I think I've lost half my brain from
It
stress.
was only the half that you didn't need, dude. It's cool.
I need every bit of brain that I
No,
can get just to
no.
function.
Our brains are fucked up sometimes. They do really weird stuff to us. Just think of it as getting rid of the stuff you don't. It's just messing with you. Getting rid of
Right.
the cobwebs.
I wish it would get rid of the OCD part. Do you remember that I had OCD?
Yeah.
Do you?
Mm-hmm.
What did I do?
um, you've always been so aware of yourself in from what I could tell, that it wasn't an alarming thing because you like pre-explained it, You're like, oh, I'm doing this thing and I know it's weird. So I don't remember ever being like shocking or strange to me. It was just like who you were, and you knew who you were, and you told us all. So it wasn't weird.
What did I do? Do you remember?
Well, like stuff that you were like neurotic about shit.
Okay.
But like I said, it doesn't stand out in my mind as something that was like super weird, because you were.
Was it hand washing? Because I do remember an incident, and
Washing, yes.
it was hand washing.
Mm-hmm. And you
Okay.
would wring, I think you would wring your hands sometimes.
Oh, okay.
You would
Okay.
do the hand wringing, and yeah,
I
you were, your nails were always very impeccably clean. Not like
right. Well, I wasn't doing any manual labor at that time, so that's probably
no.
why. But I do recall. I remember, and I apologize this because this day I feel bad about it. I plugged up your toilet in the place that you were living, and I remember it was so bad. I think I had to go and get a snake, and I gave you the snake because you needed it anyway. And I snaked out your toilet. Remember that?
I do now that you tell me, but I have to say, I did not hold on to that memory, because in my lifetime, I have had some clogged up toilets. It's not.
Is
It's
that like
not.
do you have a clogged up toilet karma? What's the issue?
Well, there's really bad plumbing in my apartment that I've lived in for the last 19 years.
Okay.
It's
Are you
really,
still in the same place?
uh-huh.
Really?
It's
Okay.
super funky. I'm in the apartment next to the one that I was living in when you were here. But
Okay. Well, I remember you were in two different spaces. You were in the one that was in the corner and then the one that was in the middle.
that's the one in the middle. That's where I still am. It's like a
Okay.
studio.
Okay.
But you know, I've raised a boy child too. There's been a lot of big turds.
Right. Right. Well, I just thought I was I don't know. I've clogged up some toilets before, and I was living in Mexico. I literally, I mean, the toilet was so bad. I had a plunger and I gave myself blisters because it was so hard to unclog. And I
Well,
remember
those plunger, the handle to a plunger is like kind of raw wood. It's like splintery and nasty.
yeah, but the problem I shouldn't have been spending that much time to even get a blister. You're supposed to just do a couple and then you're done. But this toilet was so bad. And I just remember it was just so clogged up. And I was like, what the fuck am I going to do? I mean, like, it's difficult to like get. And I was like, am I going to have to call somebody? And like, but I just remember that it was such a moment because I was plunging shit and I don't know. I think I didn't make it to the bathroom too. It was like a problem. Like the toilet was clogged. I don't remember what happened, but like, and I was like, everything is shit and I'm dealing with shit. And then I started to think about it and I was like, wait a minute, this is a metaphor for my life. I need to deal with my shit. And I'm not dealing with my shit, but I'm literally dealing with my shit right now. But I need to deal with my metaphorical shit. Um
Well, your shit didn't traumatize me, dude. It
it
sounds like
didn't.
you, but definitely not me.
Okay. Well, I was embarrassed, and then I'm just because we had to go to the hardware store and get a snake, and then but I was
So
happy. I felt like I helped too.
I
I
think
felt
we
like
should end this interview on your shit story. I think
really.
that's like, yeah, totally. It's like the best way to go out.
But we didn't. I wanted to get to the heart of Nias, and by the way, a lot of people
You're
the
gonna make me
original.
take my clothes off or something? No, I'm just kidding. I'm totally
I
joking.
couldn't. I wouldn't be
I'm
able to
not
see
gonna do
it, but those on YouTube, I'm sure would enjoy it. But no, I want to. I mean, okay. For instance, um, I know the pronunciation originally is Anais, right?
Yeah, the person I was named after, who is Anais Nin,
Yeah.
was adamant about pronouncing her name Anais.
Mm.
But I was born in the South, and I'm lucky to have escaped with Anais because Most people there say Anais.
Nah.
And I don't really care how you pronounce my name as long as it's not anus, because
Okay.
that's not nice.
Right. Right.
I had a
Uh,
judge in Taos call me anus once. I went in for a speeding ticket, and I was sitting there with a bunch of other people in the courtroom waiting for the judge to call me, and she says, Anais Rumfelt? And I stood up, and I was just, in my mind, I was like, yeah,
you should have said, yes, I'm
my
Anus.
mommy named
And
me Anus. Can you let me off with a ticket?
have you been to jail before besides that? I feel like you're hiding something. There's something you're hiding.
I am. I still have all my clothes on, Brian.
Wait, but no, like what's going on? Like, have you been to jail?
No.
Okay. So you've lived a pretty straight edge life.
Yeah, I'm straight edge.
Are you just bullshitting me, or is that true?
Yeah, I'm totally bullshitting you. I'm not straight edge at all, but I haven't been to jail.
Okay.
I don't want to.
Right. Right. Well, so what are the series of paintings that you've done? So you did the COVID one. What are the other ones that you have done?
I have a couple more from COVID behind me.
The Me Too or Trump administration.
Yeah, that one, I didn't call it that at all.
Did you call it patriarchy or something like that?
The name of the collection, I don't know. I should look on my own website and see what it's called. I can't remember.
That's all right. I don't remember anything anymore.
Well,
Are you
I'm
feeling that way? That some people like it's funny. I was talking to somebody that was just saying, like, I mean, I'm hearing this from a lot of people, and not. I mean, I hear there is COVID like cognitive issues, but I'm talking about like just people like feeling like they just can't think anymore. They like, and I can't. I mean, that's how I feel like right now. I feel like I can't fucking create. Like I can't. I mean, I'm high. I'm a little high right now because I have to be, because I went straight from work, and then I was like, I gotta relax a little bit or I'm gonna fucking not be able to. But but yeah, my point is, like, people are not remembering things, and like I'm not remembering things. I think it's either it's from the stress or it's, I don't know.
I think we're spending too much fucking time on Zoom. It's eating our
Is
brains.
this a passive aggressive way that you want to end the conversation?
Not very many people call me passive aggressive.
Okay.
I mean, aggressive, yes, but not so much passive aggressive.
That's the one of the things I love about you is that I remember you were very straightforward, and you told the truth, no matter how painful it was for the other person. And I think that's good, because I mean, essentially, this is what I want this show to be about: is that this is my Gandhian experiment in truth.
Not everyone appreciates that about me. Thank you.
Right. I don't think you've ever said anything mean to me, but you also haven't asked me to be one of your subjects either. So,
hey man, you can take your clothes off right now and I'll just take a screenshot.
just of my groin area, because if I stood up, I think that's all you'd see.
Yeah.
That I don't know if that
set up a different Zoom for this one, a little bit further away, so I can get their whole body and use it as a compositional element.
Right. Right. Yeah, I feel like I'm probably the only person in our circle of friends that you have not asked to pose, but it's okay. I think I was a little out of shape.
You are completely full of shit. I didn't paint any of those people.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Sarah, did you paint?
No.
Huh.
I don't think so. I might have drawn Sarah back in the day, but I don't think I ever made a painting of her.
Did you paint one of my exes?
I don't know.
When we came to visit, I feel like at least there was a drawing.
maybe. I've drawn a lot of naked people. Sorry. I'm so sorry. That's like somebody saying, did we sleep
You're
together back in
exhausted.
the day? And I'm like,
You're exhausted from painting people naked. Is it exhausting painting people naked? I mean, because your paintings are very emotional. I mean, they're filled with humanity and emotion in a way that's it's very rare and very beautiful. And does it take an emotional toll? I
oh,
shouldn't say toll, but does it a weight to something?
I don't think it's a drain on me emotionally to paint at all.
Okay.
No. If anything, it feeds me.
You're feeding off the nude souls of others.
Yeah, I'm sucking on the nude souls of all these people. Sorry, guys.
That should be the title of your next exhibit.
Sorry, guys. That.
No, sucking on the souls of nude people.
You could just name this podcast, this episode, that. I think
sucking on the souls of nude. It'll be in the title probably. But vulnerability. So we have vulnerability as an aspect that you like to exhibit, but what else?
Well, I oftentimes include nature and elements from nature, symbolic things in my paintings with the naked people. So that's part of it. I'm real into symbology and messages from the natural world. I think that we have a lot to learn from creatures and the earth, if we listen. So that's part of it. It's a big part of it. And there's a spiritual element to that.
So let me ask you this, because you grew up in Taos, is there an indigenous kind of element that you bring into your work, or is there a connection to the indigenous people of that area?
Well, I would say that that's like part of who I am. I grew up with that stuff, and not just, my family was very involved in a couple Native American churches. So I do have that upbringing. And also my mom's kind of a pagan. So we've always been, I would say, if there's any religion, it's of the earth. And I have great regard and connection with the earth and the creatures that live on it, floral and faunal and fungal.
My wife is really into mushrooms. Do you ever paint mushrooms?
I did a big installation project for Twirl for this art festival called the Paseo that's here. 2 years, a year and a half ago. It was called Wonder.
Mm-hmm.
It was giant 3-dimensional mushrooms and made out of paper. And then the connective structure beneath them, the roots, as you would say, but it's known as, oh, I'm like losing my mind. See, it's too late, man. Mycelium, the mycelium that connects them all, they're all one organism in the forest, and they all sprout from the mycelium. Anyway, it was all about connections. And it was a fantastic, really cool experience, because you got to go and lay underneath these mushrooms, these giant mushrooms. They were like human-sized mushrooms. So you got to lay down on this black shag carpet and look up at the mycelium structure and the mushrooms above. It was super awesome. My
wife would have been absolutely mesmerized and in ecstasy. She's mushrooms mean a lot to her. It's a big thing.
They're pretty freaking rad.
Yeah. Did you see that documentary like from last year? Was it?
What's it called?
I don't know. It's about mushrooms. I have no idea.
Fantastic Fungi. That one?
I don't know.
It's so good. Very cool movie.
Okay. So can you tell me if there is a moment that in your life that you would love beyond your fears? Did I say
Yeah.
beyond? I meant beyond.
That you love butt on. I'm not going to tell you about that.
Really?
No, I'm not going to tell you about the butt on part.
Oh, but
I
okay.
think about loving beyond my fears. Yes, yes. Yeah. Well, the one that stands out the most is raising a child, because it is the scariest thing by far that I've ever done, and the most profoundly heart-opening experience also. And you have to continually love beyond your fear. It's like for their whole life. Like, my kid is 18 and there's still so much to be scared of. And yet love has to be the main ingredient. If fear leads the way, then it ruins your relationship and it ruins your life. And you're teaching your kid to live in fear, and it's not what I want to do. So you got to get over that, and over and over and over and over. So that's the biggest one that stands out in my mind. And there's one circumstance that I can say really puts a point on it, which was when I first got pregnant. I was not planning on getting pregnant.
I remember.
We lived in LA, in North Hollywood, and I was slinging pizzas, and Aaron, I think, was selling pencils or something.
Pencils? I don't remember that, but all right.
The job situation was not good.
Okay.
And
was that 2002?
Yeah. Well, Jackson was born in 2002, so it was 2001. Okay. I think. And Wits and Hannah was our roommate, and I got pregnant, and 3 weeks later.
I'm sorry. It was just a weird, like, I was like, is Whitson involved in the pregnancy? What's happening here?
No. It had nothing to do with the pregnancy.
It was just the timing of saying you're like, Whitson was our roommate, and then I became pregnant.
Okay, no, I was making a face, and you couldn't see it because I make a lot of faces. I'm sorry. There was action happening. It just wasn't out my mouth. Okay. So I got pregnant, and 3 weeks later, I left LA, and drove by myself in a little Honda that had about 4 inches of clearance across the country to come back here, because I needed to be with my family and support and all that. And Aaron didn't come with me. I didn't know if he was going to come with me. It was terrifying. It was so fucking scary. Driving across the country by myself, pregnant. And then I got to Flagstaff, and there was a snowstorm, and there was about 2 feet of snow on the road, and my car had like so little clearance and shitty tires. And I was so scared, but I had to do what I was doing. It was like a need that came from somewhere else that pushed me through that. And along the way, this fucking crow, I swear to God, this thing followed me from California to New Mexico, because every time I stopped at a restaurant, there it was. I mean, a rest stop, there it was. And I felt like it was my little spiritual guide that was helping me, giving me strength to do what I was doing. Because anyway, so that was my first kind of magical experience with a crow. And well,
is that where that exhibit came from?
Yeah, that's where my kind of fascination and need to study them and to paint them came from. I mean, that was the seed that planted that.
Isn't it true that crows have an incredible memory?
I just said that was the seed that planted that. But see, okay, that was this seed that was planted, I guess, better. Dude, you gotta get me in the morning.
The seed. No, I'm with you. I think we got it. The seed that was planted. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It's all right. I'm exhausted too. So we're both exhausted. Let's just roll with it. It's all right.
Are we still rolling? Oh my God. You said I don't put a time limit on this, but at some point you can just say that's enough.
Yeah, you can. I mean, if you want to stop, we can. But I do want one crazy story from you.
Didn't I just give you a crazy story?
Well, that's it. No, I want just another one, unrelated. But let's go back to the crow just a little bit. So the crow was a spiritual guide. What did you get from that? What did it mean to you?
Well, it felt like protection to me, and it felt like the truth. Like I was doing something that was not what I was supposed to be doing by whatever the rules of life, my community, Aaron's community. You know, I was 24 years old. Like, what am I doing? Having a baby. I wasn't married. He wasn't anywhere in his career or anything. We didn't have shit. And yet I chose to have that child. And it was an inner wisdom that made me do that. And the crows represented that kind of like wisdom beyond our brains, like an instinctual, deeper, natural wisdom.
And it was guiding you home.
Yeah, to where I needed to be.
Well, Jackson, I remember meeting him when he was very young, and he is extremely intelligent and extremely talented. I saw him in Cortez, and I was impressed, and it was great to see him and his father working together. Um, and yeah, does he still want to act?
No, not last time I asked, no.
What is he thinking of doing now?
I don't know, man. You could do an interview with him.
Yeah, that might be fun. But anyway, yeah, I deeply appreciate this conversation because I wanted to tell you how much I appreciated your hospitality and kindness and love, and I felt like I was at home when I was with you and Aaron and Jackson. It was really a very peaceful, beautiful, loving place to be, and I wanted to thank you for that. And I want to thank you for sharing your art with the world because it's fantastic and beautiful and exciting and just mesmerizing. And I'm so grateful that I was able to see it when I did, and because I really was in awe of it. So thank you for sharing that. And could you please mention again where those that are listening and watching can find your artwork?
AnaisRumfelt.com.
Okay. All right, everybody. Is there anything you'd like to say to close the conversation? Anything?
Other than it's really, really lovely to see your face, even though it's on stupid Zoom. I'm so over it, man. I'm so over it. Oh God. Anyway.
Well,
I'm not over you. I'm over Zoom. Oh
no,
my
no. I mean, but it means a lot to me that you were willing to do it one more time when you probably did it all day.
Yeah.
And you're exhausted from looking at a screen. And I can imagine, I'm, having normal eyesight and being blinded by looking at a screen all day. I can imagine that causes a lot of exhaustion. So.
Oh, well, the best part for you, I have to say, if you're doing these interviews, you don't have to look at yourself because looking at yourself in a screen all day is real lame.
Well, you can put it on the setting where it's a speaker view only.
Oh, yeah, you can. But like, I don't do that for some reason. uh,
Are you going
whew.
to do like a Zoom related nude piece?
No.
Okay.
Zoom has gotten plenty of kudos. They don't need anything to do with me.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
want to be involved with Zoom anymore. We're breaking up.
I have an exclusive here on the Blind Men in Black.
Yeah,
Anais and Zoom are no longer
I'm
a
out.
thing.
I can't do it anymore, Zoom.
All right.
It's
Well,
been great. Learned a lot, but I just can't.
well, thank you for doing it one more time. I appreciate it. We worked through both of our exhaustion and we made it. And I'm glad we're here together. And it was wonderful to hear your voice and reconnect with you. And thank you for your art and your life and Jackson and everything that kind that you did for me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All
It's so
right.
good to see you.
What's
Much
that?
love.
You're cutting out? What?
I said thank you. It's so good to see you. Much love.
Oh, much love
And I
to
blew
you.
you a kiss.
Oh, well, thank you. I love you. And please send my best to Jackson and hopefully we can reconnect soon. And maybe I'd love to visit. I want to bring Rachel to Taos and meet you. So
Oh God, I would love that.
yeah. So hopefully things will settle down and we can make that happen. So
Sounds great.
all right. You have a lovely evening and thank you so much. Now we're gonna have an awkward ending. So
Oh no, I'll leave.
here we go. So
leave.
everybody, you
This
can
bye.
say, okay, you take care. And everybody, you can find me on the Blind Man in Black YouTube channel and so on. She's gone. So and I have to do this alone. So hopefully this will work. All right.